现场的各位观众朋友，大家午安。现在的
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. This is 3:15 p.m. Taipei time. We are ready to begin the final session for our forum. The theme of this last session is a new era of entertainment, emerging formats, and business models for variety shows.
今天呢，我们知道未来的内容体验形态其实
With the rise of internet speed, variety shows in the future will become more diversified in terms of its possibilities and content. I was told that time is limited today. Without further ado, please help me welcome Zoe Wang from the Taiwan Creative Content Agency. We'll also like to welcome the panelists Jenny Wang, Kenny Cho, Jack Xu, and DJ Howard.
提醒主持人还有与会人，因为我们的防疫措施刚。
May I remind our panelists that we have all sterilized our seats and our partition boards, so feel free to remove your masks as you attend the panel. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the TCCF Content Festival, Session 9. My name is Zoe Wang. I'm from the Taiwan Creative Content Agency. The rise of the internet has created a wider variety of variety shows. Today, we are very honored to have invited 4 producers who will be talking about a new era of entertainment. So first, we would like to welcome, coming from Haokan Entertainment Production, Deputy General Director, Jenny Wang. She is responsible for producing 2 awards winner variety show. Next, we would like to welcome Jack Xu. He's from Self Pick Inc. He's and then the hip hop variety show producer. Kenny Cho, representing MTV Taiwan. Next, we would like to welcome, representing STR Network, the CEO of STR Network, DJ Howard. They have been producing very popular stand-up comedy shows. So today, we're here to talk about variety shows and the new models, new business models, emerging formats of variety shows. So each of our panelists has prepared a short video clip to introduce the variety shows they're producing. We will begin with Jenny Wang. And I would like to introduce the All-Star Sports Day. It is one of the variety shows that we produce. So I would like to share with you the show that we came up with last year.
So I think it's very rare that you see in one variety show, we have a collection of so many stars of artists. These are all very well-known artists, and they are grouped into 2 groups, and they need to compete with each other. And we want it to be a very sophisticated variety show. So the team captains of these groups are professional athletes here in Taiwan. And we also want to make sure that we have the cheerleaders. This is important in a sports game, and because it's the highest caliber of sports competition show, so we have sports commentators and broadcasters as well. These are professionals as well. This is not just a variety show. All-Star Sports Day is a show where you could see not only stars competing with each other, but also celebrities and sports athletes attending some of our competitions. We believe that sports should not be a hype that only occurs once every 4 years. It should be part of our everyday. You could see that in most variety shows here in Taiwan, they use limited amount of cameras, but now we use 20 cameras at any given time in capturing all the images. We also have our own post-production company that will be able to finish the post-production of a 12-hour program in 2 weeks. Every time, every shooting, every recording, we need to mobilize like 100 people to accomplish each shooting. And we also hire professional referees from professional sports associations. All of our stars, competitors have insurances. We also have professional medical assistance team on site. We also have stills photographers to capture different photos and stills for the social media publication. There are also some new sports items out there in the world. We have very good viewer rating. Even on YouTube, you could see on my video, YouTube, we have very high click rates. And every time we upload a new episode, you could see it become one of the most viewed programs very soon. We are also the first variety show in Taiwan to hire Taipei Arena and Kaohsiung Arena to shoot our final competition. We are also going to have a spin-off called All Sports Basketball Game. Now, I would like to play a short clip of this variety show, All-Star Sports Day. We have been awarded with 2 Golden Bell Awards.
比赛开始了，这组的实力将近齐步相拥，全力过了终点。
这就是我跟大家分享的全民。
So this is All-Star Sports Day. Of course, you have to watch it to know it.
因为我刚
Thank you very much. So right now there's a fire drill going on in the venue that we're in right now. So don't worry about this alarm. Everything's fine. So I really, really want to see more episodes, more seasons of our Sports Star. So I actually want to invite all of these veteran star celebrities here in Taiwan to compete. So we'll see what happens. Our next speaker is the producer of Let's Go Home, Jack Xu. Hello, everyone. Actually, this year we have 2 programs that are nominated in the Golden Bell Award. One is Let's Go Home. The other one is Lulu Painting. We want to create a program that highlights the idea of nostalgia, of homeland, and to show a different side of all the star celebrities. And that's what we do in Let's Go Home. And for Lulu Painting, it is our moderator, Lulu, who would interview other star celebrities as they paint. And in Let's Go Home, we have Bao Yunzhen as our hostess to interview different star celebrities. We have completed the screening of the first season, and we are now producing our second season of Let's Go Home. It will be on air next year. Let me show you a clip about it. Hello, everyone. I'm here to show you the first 4 episodes of Let's Go Home to show you the hometown of 4 different star celebrities. I like this Fuxing Temple because I always come back during Chinese New Year, and there are a lot of firecracks going on during Chinese New Year. This is Yilan, and this is a very laid-back city, and so you would feel a completely pace compared to Taipei. So you grew up as someone who wants to make everybody happy. That's right. I believe right now the reason why I can do this work, the reason why I'm this person right now, it's all because of Taichung. This is my hometown. We can see how proud they are of their homeland, and we can also see how they introduce the beauty of these homelands. This is a local winery. When I growing up, I could see my father making these soy sauce, and I learned a lot from my father. Do you miss home as well? Let's go home.
还有一件很可惜的事情，就是观众还不认识。
I think our audience needs to know more about Lulu's parents.
所以他们要在我们节目里面。
Lulu's parents are also have the potential to become variety stars.
谢谢 Jack 带给我。
Thank you, Jack. This is indeed a very healing program. Let's now move on to Kenny. The program he produces is The Rappers. Hello, I am Director of MTV Taiwan, Kenny Zhou. I would like to thank Taika for giving me the opportunity today. The Rappers is the first reality rappers competition in Taiwan. And so I'm here and showing you a video clip of The Rappers.
时代不是一段时间，而是一群人。
当你喜欢这个文化，
愿意参与这个文化，
就能集结更多志同道合的人。
唱得好只是最基本的，你的风格要独树一格，王者只能有一位。
今天能够走进棚里面的，绝对不是网络上你们大家在那边讲的说谁很烂，阿伯利来气跨买。
我
前面的各位朋友，忘了 my stood like you're wasting your mind. No care, be my best stack in the rack. 就让子弹飞回穿过你的脸。No care, be my best stack in the rack. We got motivation， 活在那一页。
听感真的很好，
从来没有想过自己可以跟他合作。
我想象不到，原来买榜可以这样买啊！没有想过，
我觉得会红。重新，这是这个时代的这首歌。
我相信我可以拿到冠军。真正台湾的大嘻哈时代要来。
有杨丽，你现在肯定还在夜市里面想着100秒抢竞赛要端出什么屌货。相信我，不久后鸦皮他会告诉你，最屌货其实一直在我们心中。不久后你会从润少身上学到，当个做自己饶舌歌手是多屌的一件事情。今天我就要 go home 了，但放心，我明天会继续 go big。I see you right there, young Lee. Gotta keep it head up. 你很快就会到我这边了。Yes sir. 这趟旅程很不可思议，对吧？回头看这趟 trip， 有很多东西是连100万都买不起的东西，对吧？总有一天大家都会离开这里的，对吧？几天后我就要23岁了，想带走一些东西跟我的兄弟继续。这是杨丽。把砖头都叠起来，像在叠每4个8。这栋城堡我跟兄弟还在试着搭，想着我爱的人什么生活适合他，有他们在的地方那样才算是个家。我知道机会不会随时来的，做100%的准备，随时就上台了。可以不要冲动，但别把野心给埋了，总不能等到我爸妈的头发全都白了。还在继续追着，我没有后悔 ，always 记得别给兄弟扯后腿。OK， 我心里已经没有任何纠结，清楚最大的敌人是我心里面的魔鬼已经没了。我的兄弟依然坐在座位准备飞了，故事还没那么快就收尾，风在吹着。那年客厅地上热纸砖热到碎了，在睡前写下我的23年，我的。
是杨丽，我记录一下，2021 2月23号。在前2天21号的时候，顺利拿到这个大嘻哈时代海选的 MVP 保送。当然希望在节目里面我能在音乐这块上面有更大的突破。这个影片我其实是想拍给半年后的我，对，不知道在节目里面成绩跑到哪里了。不过都希望半年之后的杨丽，你可以回来看这部影片，不管你现在还有没有在节目里面，如果还有的话。看他应该蛮屌的。好了，祝一切顺利。
没问题。
You see me there, right?
I see you there.
I see you there too. Yeah, that's right. Bye.
Bye 了，杨丽 ，Good luck.
谢谢大家。
So we made 13 episodes of the rappers, and it's been viewed over 40 million times, and we have 110,000 subscribers. We are ranked #1 in terms of the variety shows, and we have secondary production creations, about over 1,000 different videos of such nature, and our best films were clicked about 20 million times. So I hope that you will continue to support us. We hope that more artists, rappers will join us. We thank the Ministry of Culture and the entire production team for their long-term support. I would also like to thank Line TV, My Video, and the Taiwan TV network. In the future, we have more upcoming plans to enrich the program. So thank you for your program. We see that all these people have their own stories to tell. They're being true and being very authentic. It was truly a great show to watch. Now let's move on to Jack Shi. I feel that I would just go ahead and show my video.
大家晚安，大家好。不要太激动啊！在活动开始之前呢，我先跟大家介绍一些重要的来宾。
Hello， 大家好，欢迎光临台湾吧。今天我们来聊聊这个卖台，开始喽。
伯恩夜夜秀。今天这个座位呢，可以说是现成辣妹。没错，她就是台湾首位民选女总统、三军统帅、辣台派中的辣台妹。让我们掌声欢迎蔡英文。我的天哪！
各位观众，今天晚上最后一首歌，我们一起嗨起来好不好？STO Network 36. DJ Power Production.
For some of you, it might seem that I was introducing myself. I've been in this trade for over 10 years. I have done concerts, performances, and live performances, to name a few. The pandemic has affected us for over 2 years. And the pandemic has also had affected the show production, particularly in terms of variety shows. Maybe Jenny will talk about her perspectives. In fact, the pandemic situation was relatively less severe last year, so we were not really affected last year. We, in fact, had more viewership last year. However, this year, we were told to stop filming new shows. That means that we have no income because we're not making new shows. So when the announcement was made, everybody was told to go home to stop making new shows. And then on that day, I lost $500,000 NT because we already had the entire setup. We were ready to go, ready to shoot. We have paid everybody. So we lost money. on that day. So I had to release these talents. The show business is not like your regular industry. It takes a lot of brain power. We need our talents to continue staying with us. We need to pay them the full salary. What that means is that all these young talents, they have the expertise, they have the talent. If we stop paying them, I mean, if they don't get their paycheck, they're not going to pay for their rent. So I was approached by my employees during the pandemic when we had to shut down all the filming operations, and people were letting their employees go, but we could not do so. Like I said, we would need 100 people to pull it off, to be able to shoot the show itself. So we were still giving people their paychecks during the pandemic while we were not making any new projects at all. So we were very active on Facebook, on YouTube. So all the employees really wanted to come to the office to work. They like the free internet. They like the free aircon in the office. So we were having video conferences. We were trying to come up with ideas of what else we could do at home. So I would just say that it's not as effective if you shoot things remotely. For example, if you have the partition boards up, you would get the reflection, and the images were not clear, so we were not able to shoot anything remotely. So we practically lost tens of millions of NT during the pandemic, at the height of the pandemic. So we were trying to look for alternatives for us to continue to put the production, to put the new contents out there. We need to be able to move on. We need to be able to create new revenue streams. So we created another show, which is observing the stars. It's called Watching All Star. So they were all locked up, and then for pretty much being put under quarantine for 14 days, and they were being filmed 24/7. So they would be doing their laundry and then hanging up their sports uniform outside. And we are the green team, and we're competing against the other teams. But under the lockdown, we could not really compete. So we came up with new ideas to sort of film the daily lives of these athletes. So we were able to put new contents out there to a certain degree, and we had a very short turnaround time. The larger the scale your production is, the more loss you will sustain. So during the pandemic, a lot of people were doing reruns. When the pandemic restrictions were lifted, when the people started turning on the TV, they're not quite sure whether this is a rerun or this is a new show. So our ratings were relatively low, and even immediately after the ban was lifted, because the audience were not quite sure whether they're watching a new show that we just recently produced or whether it's just a rerun. So we suffered audience attrition. However, this challenge has also pointed us in a different direction. We were able to look for other opportunities. November has descended upon us. We have come out of the pandemic for 3 months, but we're still trying to find ways to get back to our original rating levels, and we're still working on it. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny, for sharing your experience with us. We were not hit as hard as your company. We suffered losses, and that's for sure. Our company suffered losses. However, by hearing your story, I just realized that your company lost more than my company. While we were chatting backstage, we realized that for our company, our situation wasn't that bad. So when the pandemic hit us, we had to go for alternative investors. We spent maybe about a week calming ourselves down, trying to maybe have a few drinks, trying to come up with solutions. Bars were all shut down, so we couldn't just go out and grab some drinks. So we were trying to look for alternatives.
And then as I returned to my job, I think I spent a lot of time thinking, because in the past we had to move very fast for all sorts of productions, be it the rappers or everything. When we provide the profit and loss estimation to the investor, everything looks amazing and ideal. But when we are actually producing these programs, of course, there are a lot of communications that needs to be done, a lot of cost controlled. So it was pretty tiring. So during those 2 months where we could not continue to shoot, we actually spent those time on thinking about our next step and to find new collaborative partners. And at that time, because nobody could produce any program, so all of a sudden we could call a lot of conferences. We made a lot of conferences calls where everybody was there. People talk about different ideas, brainstorm new ideas. We started as a new media, but then during the second season of Let's Go Home, we work with suddenly a TV station, and we are able to create more possibilities such as crowdfunding. So I think this time, this provides us an opportunity to take a step back and to look at the international market to see how we can introduce our content to international market. So I think those 2 years of no shooting actually gave us some opportunity to look at the international market. So we will be able to see what's our possibility given our current cast, and if we want to release to more international markets, how much we need to elevate our cast. And so that we have a better plan for the second season of Let's Go Home, and maybe even for the third season. The most difficult thing, of course, during those 2 months was mobilization of funds, communication with crews, giving them new schedules, or trying to assure them during the uncertainties that one thing will begin again. So it was pretty tiring, it was exhausted, but at the same time, it gives us some time to think, to reflect on our practices. And we are now thinking about the possibility of shooting Let's Go Home, the third season of Let's Go Home in an overseas territory. So the pandemic gives you more time to think, right, to plan more carefully and to, try to plot a different way forward. Yes, we can have some in-depth discussion. We also hoped we are able to go overseas again, because there is another variety program of my company that we haven't been able to go overseas for the full year. And it is important for us to be able to go overseas. This is the Mr. Player. So I remember that there is another variety show there that we are asking all of the stars to participate and to, for example, to sing. And a lot of them are very willing to do so. And this singing episodes are actually uploaded to the online platform. And we could see that actually during the pandemic, a lot of stars didn't have a lot of jobs, so they are very willing to work with us in create different, formats and versions. And all of a sudden, those colleagues in my office who used to hate to come to the office, now they die to want to come back to the office. For us, it was a very big impact during the lockdown here in Taiwan. Because we just started the first season of The Rappers. The Rappers is one of a kind here in Taiwan. However, we know that there are other countries who have produced variety show or talent show with rappers as the theme. We actually aired this program after the pandemic. In between, because of the lockdown, we had to pause the screening for 2.5 months. So that was a very big impact. Just like what Jenny has said, because of the pandemic, a lot of things was put on hold because people need to make sure that they reserve the cash flow. So we weren't able to do a lot of planning we weren't able to do a lot of investment decisions or budget decision. So that gave us time to continue to plan, to discuss different possibilities about how to make, for example, the rappers more popular amongst young audiences. And we decided that if we cannot play the program, we could turn to communicate with online community. How about Howard? I think we sustained a very big impact because STR network, it's a theater form, and if it's a comedy, comedies, and especially stand-up comedy, it's all about the stand-up comedian and the audience's interaction. So what we did was, first of all, we had to develop new formats. For example, we did an online conference program. It's called One Night in Beijing. However, it was impossible to distribute it to overseas territories, and there's no ticket sale, so it was just something to sustain us. And also what we did was that we also created a program where we put one of our artists in lockdown for 100 days. And then talking about Burn, the ticket sale was very good with Burn. And for every Burn episode, we could sell 4,000 tickets. So for every one of them, we have 88 million NT dollars of revenue. At that time, we could even see some resale tickets online. It's 20,000 per ticket. So it was very popular. Some people were returning the tickets, but that's not the point. What I'm trying to say is, at that time, because of the pandemic, we could have put on the live performance for Burn, but our ticketing platform was willing to give us part of the income first so that we could sustain ourselves, and our audience was willing to wait for us. So I thought, well, I sold all the tickets, and we've got all the advertisements. There won't be new revenues coming in. So we started to talk to Zhonghua Telecom. We approached Hami Video. So we decided that the only Burn episode that we were able to film, we wanted to make it as a merchandise to be shelved in Hami Video. And we sold 35,000 viewership for that episode on Hami Video. So we got even more revenue, 12.5 million in revenue for that episode on OTT platforms. So I think it really changed our business model. We know that there are only a limited amount of live performance venues here in Taiwan. Nabi Huang, if I invite him to have a live performance here in Taiwan, maybe there won't be a lot of live audience because most of his audiences will be in other cities or in other countries, but I can always go online in order to attract those viewership. Our second question is about competing in the global market. So as Howard has said, it's not necessarily the case that we have to sell our content to international platforms. The point is, you need to find your audience. And if I can sell this viewership access online, you will be able to profit. So Howard, once again, if you can share with us more about this. I arrived here pretty early, so I listened to the discussion in the previous session. I kept hearing a rhetoric saying, oh, why can XX do this and why can't we? I don't agree with that. Thank you. So if what you're seeing is, oh, South Korea is doing this, but you're seeing its results, you don't know, what they have gone through in order to achieve this level of success. this morning, I also heard someone saying the Taiwanese audience are very welcoming for international content, so they are not willing to to consume Taiwanese content. Well, I can do it in another way. I could imitate the U.S. content, sue me, right? Or we can do something very Taiwanese. We can invite President Tsai to our program. And so I think we have to go back to the content and the audience. And when people talk about investment, this is end game. So when I started to work on comedies, we started with stand-up comedies and then insult comedy like Burn. We started with very small venues, and now we have large venues with pretty high price for each ticket. So I have a pretty good estimation of my revenue. Maybe one day I could become a Comedy Central of Taiwan. But that's a long way ahead. So we cannot look at Comedy and Central and say, hey, why can't we do this with STR? Taiwan is, of course, a small market, but I don't believe that we have tried everything with this small market. What about Jack? What do you think? So my line of thought is the same as Howard's. I believe that we do have a lot of potentials. In Let's Go Home, we have invited, for example, Jay Chou, and I have produced another program called Inside Out. It features a celebrity that is pretty well known in mainland China. There's also product placement opportunities. So I realized that, you know, in some other countries, they have additional revenues and funding streams. So there's still a lot of things that we can do here in Taiwan, a lot of room for growth. And if we want to sell our content to international platforms, we know that we have the capability, but we have to have the courage to do all those advanced investments in order to produce content that meets the quality or requirements of international platforms. So I think that's the issue with Taiwan, and that is we are a lot of times stuck because people are not willing to put down the advanced investment to make the sophisticated or world quality content. I also agree with Howard in that we have to be realistic. If we don't have like smash hit stars in our program, we have to think about how do we maximize the possibilities of what we have. Let's Go Home. I'm saying that we may want to film the third season in an overseas country. Why don't we do it in the first season? Because we know that it's impossible to go so far overnight. We have to take baby steps and accumulate our experiences and accumulate our track records gradually for investors to believe in us. So Let's Go Home, it was aired online, and for the second season, we are going to bring it to TV stations. And with these two seasons, we are able to develop the potential and the track record for this IP. Then for the third season, it will be easier for us to attract even bigger stars to our program. These stars have international reputation that will allow international platforms to be interested in us. So a lot of times it takes time. It takes time to achieve something great. It cannot be achieved overnight. And so I think we all need to be more patient and to be really taking firm little steps that continue to push us forward.
The next question. All of your programs are being shown on YouTube, and you could see the statistics, the big data from YouTube. Today, as we gather here to talk about international competitiveness, how can you use the big data on, for example, platforms like YouTube to help you tap into the international market? Sometimes we tend to overanalyze things. You just need to have the right content. Let's set the YouTube channel aside. When we sell our IP, we were able to sell it to places around the world. I have a lot of Malaysian buyers and Singaporean buyers. They want to buy our sports uniform. They want to buy our merchandises. We have overseas buyers wanting our merchandises. I feel that I am a content creator. What I really am after is that if I give it my best, we will increase our visibility. We know that people are really passionate about sports when the Olympic Games are over the news this year. And we went to Taipei Arena and we shot our shows in there. This is not a very new idea. Many countries have their own version of the sports variety show. So people often ask me, who are you going to sell it to, and what kind of overseas markets do you target? I believe that I focus on viewership. I really care about whenever we put a tweet out there, how many people would like it, and how good we are with engaging our target audience. We deal with buyers in Hong Kong, in Southeast Asian countries. So I don't really worry myself too much about the preferences of overseas market. As long as we have good content and we give it our best, we will have international buyers. From that perspective, you want to ask yourself, with this budget, sometimes with government grants, you want to ask yourself that with this budget, what kind of high-quality program can you produce? We need to meet the requirements of the local viewers. We also need to comply with the local regulations. Of course, the comedy shows and the other shows have different target audience than us, and we are satisfying the needs of the people who watch our shows on TV, and there's more watching us on the internet. So people are saying that when you put it on the internet, people will stop watching it on TV, which is not true. We have experimented it over the years. If it has top viewer rating on cable TV, it will have top viewer rating on YouTube. So it's transferable. So a lot of investors are approaching us, asking us to shoot the third season. During the pandemic, a lot of investors were very worried. The merchandises were ready. They have given us the money. They wanted their money back because of the pandemic. We can't shoot more shows. So we were coming up with new ideas and putting more content out there on the internet. So life will find its way. There is always a solution out there. So I'm very optimistic about the outlook of the industry. Thank you, Jenny, for sharing your thoughts with us. More business opportunities are being created. What about the tickets to the grand finale of your show, the All-Star Ford Sports Day? They were selling like hotcakes that were sold in a day. And then we come up with other subsequent varieties of the shows, basketball shows and other shows. In Kaohsiung, when we were shooting our last episode, because it was the last episode, all the stars would appear, so the tickets were selling like hotcakes. So the investors were asking, there's the buying of the tickets and the refund of the tickets. Some people want refunds. There's a price difference in between. So sometimes we are losing money in certain areas. Of course, in the show business, everything seems to be very positive, but you have different income streams, so you just need to balance them and to make sure that you strike a balance in the end. You talked about crowdfunding, allowing the audience online to choose what they would like you to produce. In the olden days, when we were producing shows, it was just the investors, it was the TV networks that were the investors. Today, people could invest through crowdfunding. The TV. Sometimes we'll be creating programs. We have two versions of the same show on TV because of the TV regulations. We could only show a specific version. However, we have a better or an alternative version that we reveal and release on the internet, so we can reach more audiences. Jenny, what you were saying that the merchandises, there were T-shirts. What else are there? I know that you guys are not familiar with our show because you're not our target audience. For example, this little accessories I could add to the back of my cell phone, they sell well as well. Of course, T-shirts. T-shirts are very popular. And there are people out there that were already making our T-shirts without getting our licensing. So we decided to go into that business. I thought it's been 4 years. Every year we will launch our new merchandises. And then we have different merchandises for different seasons. We have hats, fishermen's hats. We have all sorts of accessories and souvenirs. And these bring in hard cash. So I believe that the content is not really controlled by the merchandises. I believe it's important to have great content, and then it attracts investors. And then I've said it many times, I think the content is the most important element here. So how many merchandises have you sold over the past 4 years? The V-neck T-shirts sold at $2.99, 2 for 500 NT. We sold them all. And we sold so many that the manufacturers could not really handle our new orders. And I remember like the factory owner that made our T-shirts made so much money that she actually upgraded her car to a new Tesla. Now she's making souvenirs for Google because she became very, very successful, and we're able to make a lot of profits after taking our order for making our T-shirts. I should have gone into T-shirt making business myself in the first place. Sometimes you wish that you would have a mentor and like a coach who would tell you which business to go into in hindsight. I think licensing is the buzzword here. It's easier said than done. Many of our programs want to explore more IP adaptation opportunities so that this brand could be expanded further and enjoy greater longevity. Jenny said that in the post-production center, in the post-production stage, they already have an economy of scale so that the entire production costs could be lowered. And for my company, we're not at that stage yet. In 2014, when we first started out, we wanted to follow the fundraising model like China. For example, we will have a lot of capital. We will have angel investors. We have C round, D round of fundraising. I cannot play that many roles. I was just spreading myself too thin. I wasn't really old and mature enough. I am good at being creative. But if you want me to be the manager at the same time and you do not have a partner, and then you're just spreading yourself too thin. You can't have it all. Like me, it's important to have partners. But if we go into different rounds of fundraising, we would be so big. We'll be so big that I would need to bring more people on board. So we're allowing ourselves to grow organically. So we're slowing ourselves down. We need more partners, need more people on the team. We need to put together a team that is big enough so we can handle the speed at which our business is growing. So the team would have to grow with the funds. If you're just doing it alone, all by yourself, that's not really going. You can't pull it off. You need to have good shareholders, good investors. All of you talked about organizing concerts, selling tickets. For me, it is unfathomable because there's just it's a different skill set for me. For me, I'm content at where we are now. I think it's important to have good managers to manage the capital, to find the best way to manage the business. We need to learn from each other. TICAS also has access to the National Development Fund. So if any of you need any funds, you could contact us to get information on how to apply for the fund. I, in fact, applied for the fund one time. Kenny, what about you? People's viewing habits have changed over time. In the past, the variety shows are more geared toward OH. They're looking for the common denominator among all the audience members. For my mom's generation, they have already migrated to their cell phones. They're watching their favorite shows on their smartphones, and because of the pandemic. So I think when we look to the international market, I believe that there might be a common language, not necessarily in terms of the language that one speaks. I'm talking about a common cultural element. For example, music. It's interesting to see that we actually have, in addition to the Taiwanese audience, we actually have a quite considerable number of American audience. I believe that no matter which country or culture you operate in, there's always gaps that are yet to be filled. You could do so by applying for government grants, funds. I think it's important to keep the positive cycle going. And each company goes through different phases of growth. Each company should be given the opportunity and time to accumulate its own experience. I would like to add, when I talked with Kenny about the rappers, the show is now being carried on major OTT platforms. What is interesting is that the audience are mainly from Taiwan. We would think that, then what ranks second or third would be Hong Kong, Macau, or Singapore, or Malaysia, or Chinese-speaking people in these countries. However, right next to Taiwan, only next to Taiwan, we have the American audience. So what this really means is that the rappers has garnered the attention of the American audience. For example, on Spotify, they have popular a list of recording artists. For example, Viva Latino, that was originally not from the America. It was so successful that it went on tours in the Americas.
So I think everybody needs to be more realistic. Sometimes here in Taiwan, we dream too big. We want to go so far in one step. We forget about the initial beginnings, that we have to take firm and modest steps at the very beginning. So if we, for example, receive some investor funding or the funding from my parents, let's say, if you don't take the initial firm and modest steps, it's impossible for you to have a very solid foundation for your success. So when you take these firm and humble steps at the very beginning, you know what you're doing, and you have the opportunity to maybe step back a little bit and to, think about what's the next step and to do everything well. I actually would like to encourage all the investors, including the government or telecom companies, financial holding companies. You can definitely think about investing in variety shows, not just in movies and films. This is because variety shows have great turnovers. For example, Burn. Let's forget about the pandemic, but with Burn, from planning to the final revenue that's received, it only took me 4 months, right? If it's a movie, you can only get the last piece of your income like 4 years later. So I am producing at a much smaller scale, but this means that I can have 6 different episodes of Burn every year. If I have a revenue of 8 million NT dollars per episode, and you time it by 6, you could see how big it could be, right? So I think sometimes we aim big and high, but too big and too high can be risky as well and can be problematic. I can see that a lot of people try to make their dream come true in the movie industry, but other than making your dream come true, we also need to be realistic. And really, there are so many different topics out there that we can do. I'm a producer, right? Actually, the first season of the Brian's Night Show, it wasn't really good. But we have improved so much throughout these years. And we can also see that because of the changes in the content production industry. If you have, for example, right now, you could see YouTube influencers. They can, if they have enough funding, they will be able to reproduce whatever has been successful on TV. And they can do it because they are influencers. They have their own followers. What about you, Jenny? I think we're all looking for a new way out. We are trying to create content and find new ways. And I think there are more ways ahead of us compared to what happened in the past, because there are so many different media and platforms. In the past, we look at TV ratings all the time. And you have a rating every day. Now it's even worse because we have new rating statistics every minute, even every second. So right now, when we produce variety shows, it's not that we finish the tape, we hand it out, and that's it. Right now, it's different. We have to launch it on the TV. We also have to launch it on the OTT platform. So we are not only grilled by TV ratings, we are also grilled by, for example, platform owners. However, I do believe that with the right content, this means that you have more channels for distribution, more people would want you. Actually, for me, when we put shows on TV, it's impossible for us to put on any terrible shows, because once it's terrible, the viewer rating will go down. We will be grilled about this viewer rating. And sometimes right now, we are editing our content into different versions. One version will be more suitable for online viewers. The other one will be more suitable for TV viewers. We have to be responsible for the owners of TV stations as well as online platforms. I actually envy DJ Howard a lot, because you only need to be responsible for your online viewers. For us, it's different. At All-Star Sports Day, we have to make sure that, for example, we have the correct gender makeup. Because if we don't have the correct one, we will immediately see the impact on advertisement. But I believe that this kind of constant feedback is also good as well, because it gives us a constant information about what people are looking for. And we also need to understand that a lot of times, I have to prepare new ideas to replace the current program that I have. A variety show can be very good, but one day people will be tired of it and we need new things. So in the whole process, I believe Jenny has run through a lot of very struggling decisions, very painful moments, but you have always been so optimistic, so upbeat. So my question to you is, we've known each other for more than 2 decades, right? I don't want to reveal my age, but you are here for such a long time, so there must be something, like one big issue that you think is a problem out there. What is it? I think there are so many people who want to be in the entertainment business. I have so many friends who say their children want to be in the entertainment business. And I always tell them there are only a few people who can make it in the entertainment business, and 1% of those will get 99% of the income. And you always only see the successful examples. You won't see any failures out there. And even if I'm having a miserable time, I will always tell you the good news here so that I can attract the investors. There are a lot of times that we have to be, making very difficult decisions. And for me, viewer rating is just a report card. Can you imagine that a person with my age, you have to see all these report cards every day and try to correct ourselves according to that. So you have to be very passionate with this industry. We don't make massive amount of money, but there are so many demands for us. Why is it that the 4 of us are on stage right now? This is because we feel good when we create good content. For example, when I was standing in Taipei Arena, when I saw those 10,000 audiences in the seats cheering for these stars in the All-Star Sports Day, I was so moved because I couldn't believe I could have so much support after 13 episodes of All-Star Sports Day. And they are here to support these stars in competing with each other. So I felt so good about it, and I could see the results of my efforts. At the end of that day in the Taipei Arena, it was already 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and everybody in my line group, all the crew, we were so happy and excited. So I think that kind of sense of achievement trumps the amount of money we receive. But of course, we wouldn't refuse more income. So you've been talking about wanting to receive more investment or attracting more investment. So a lot of times producers don't know how to communicate with financial investors. It's difficult for them to understand what you're doing. I think DJ Howard, that's very clear. You can have a very clear box office revenue. But for Jenny, in your case, it's very difficult for financial investors to understand your profit model, right? There are a lot of terms and jargons that they use to estimate the financial recuperation. We don't understand all those as producers. So how do we promote variety shows to investors? What's your take? So I have to be very honest. A lot of people want to invest in us. Not necessarily in financial terms or monetary terms. There are investors who don't care about EPS or the short-term immediate recuperation. We are a dream, right? The kind of product, the production we make can be a dream. So some investors are interested in investing in this dream. So for example, All-Star Sports Day, we didn't know it could be so successful. We just wanted to try it out. So we call ourselves creators, and we believe creators don't know how to communicate with financial investors, but sometimes we do need to make sure that we have all these professionals in our team. So as we create, we also want to make sure we are aligned with the markets. In the entertainment business, sometimes we are shy about explaining how we profit, what's the model over here. But now we are more willing to open up and to explain, what IP means, what monetization possibilities this IP can have. So I think we need someone who knows how to tell these monetization stories to investors. We are still learning now. So Jack, you're also working with Backers, a crowdfunding platform here in Taiwan. What is your experience in working with them, these investors? Can you share with us your experiences? As a producer of a variety show, or maybe the founder of a company, how do we approach investors or VCs? How do we communicate with them? What are some of the key points in this kind of communication, other than selling our dream? In Taiwan, I think most investors want to look at the expected profit and loss. So do you have a very precise profit and loss estimation? When you have these forecasts, there are a lot of numbers that they can verify. For example, Bagger founders. The founder of Back Founders actually know a lot of people in the entertainment business, so they have a way to verify your profit and loss estimation. My video as well, they have a way, they have the means to verify your numbers. So they can tell you, well, this estimation is just not good enough. I know your reputation, you don't have a very good track record, you have to revise your profit and loss estimation. So I think for me, my advantage is that my company is very established in estimating these profit and loss. So I am able to produce something that's more convincing to the investors. And I think financially, this is where you have to be honest, right? For other areas, of course, you can try to highlight your advantages and hide your weaknesses. But for financial, you have to be very candid, starting from which point you can make a profit. And before that, it's all investment and loss. You have to be very candid about that. So precise profit and loss estimation, your ROI, if it's max at 20, 30%, don't write down 200%. Be honest. Sometimes I still see a lot of very ridiculous profit and loss estimation, talking about 10 times of return and profit. I don't think any investor would buy that. It's probably 10 to 20%. Everybody knows that's the max. And you also need to present the worst case scenario. That's what I mean by a correct estimation. But that's the case of Taiwan. If we want to distribute internationally, then I think it's a lot more than profit and loss. You have to be able to present a track record. You have to be able to show your power, your relationship, your interpersonal network. That's how people will believe in you and trust in your team. So it's actually not the profit and loss that will determine whether or not you can sell internationally. I think we can move on to Q&A. Let's look at Slido and see if there are some questions coming in.
所以有一个问题是，
Here we have a question. Let's say, for example, from Jenny's perspective, your case is quite different. Let's take Howard's example. How is your profit model different from a TV network's profit model? NCC wouldn't let us show our programs on TV, so I can't really answer this question. And with that, we conclude our session today. I would like to thank our 4 panelists for joining us today. I would like to thank all of you for participating in the 2021 Taiwan Creative Content Fest. We hope to see you again next year.
感谢现场各位。